Well, hello, hello. Welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is you are watching this. If you are joining live, welcome. Let's maybe greet you and let me see any comments. If there's anyone watching live, put in the chat where you're watching from, your name and where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, hello and welcome. My name is Leah Petrucci, and I am a licensed mental health counselor and a holistic health and lifestyle coach. And this is the Online Gathering Place. So, the Online Gathering Place is a free platform for people who just need a place to go to get a little bit of a mood boost, to reduce their stress, reduce their anxiety. And I like to incorporate a mix of education and some activities to teach y'all how to reduce nervous system response, to boost your mood, and maybe have a little fun in the process. So, welcome, welcome. I'm going to give people a few more minutes to trickle in. So, tonight we're going to be talking about how to set healthy boundaries, which is definitely a hot topic and can be a very difficult topic for a lot of people, myself included. I really struggled over the years to learn how to set healthy, appropriate boundaries, and it's still a work in progress. I've done a lot better than I did, I don't know, when I was in my 20s. I'm in my 40s. I'm actually coming up on my 45th birthday in a couple of weeks, and I can definitely see how far I've come in setting boundaries since my 20s, because I've done a lot of work. I've done my own recovery work, and I'm going to share a little bit about some resources that have helped me along the way. But what we're gonna do tonight, we are going to talk about some very specific boundaries. I'm even going to get down to very specifically what to say, some different things that you can take, and if they sound good to you, you can use them, or you can tweak them a little bit to make them sound more comfortable for you. And we're also going to talk about nervous system regulation, and what that means is how to calm down the nervous system whenever we think about setting boundaries and we have a nervous system response. So what that looks like is, let's say we might go to set a boundary and we might start hyperventilating. We might start breathing heavier. We might not be able to speak. We might not be able to find the words. We might stumble on our words. We might stutter. We might fidget. We might do something called fawning, FAWN, which is one of the 4 nervous system responses. We have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And those are 4 nervous system responses that can happen when we feel threatened by whatever stimuli it is. It could be a wild animal. It could be, shoot, I'm late for work. It could be, uh-oh, my rent's due and I don't have the money. And it could be, uh-oh, I have to tell somebody no. I have to set an uncomfortable boundary. And we go into that fight or flight response. And sometimes we may not be able to set the boundary. We may cave. We may fawn. What that means is people pleasing, or when we just kind of give in to the person because we are afraid of conflict. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. We don't want to have conflict. There's multiple reasons why we don't set boundaries, and therefore, we don't take care of ourselves. We don't do what we need to do to practice self-care. And so that's what I hope for us to be able to work on tonight. And I'm going to use a couple of workbooks that I have, and we're going to get really specific about it. But the first things first, before we get into tonight's activity, we're going to do a little bit of nervous system regulation to just get our nervous system nice and relaxed. We're just going to do a couple of things before we dive into the hard stuff. So if you have something soothing, if you'd like to go grab a hot beverage, mine, this is one of my mugs. I hope you can see it. My favorite people have paws. I don't have my co-host with me tonight, Miss Athena. Maybe she'll join us some other night. Or get yourself a glass of water or something, something to drink to stay hydrated. So that's also something that can be very soothing. If you go to set a boundary and you can't speak, and so it's nice to have something hot or cold nearby. So I'm going to take a sip of mine. All right, and we're going to do just a couple of things to warm up, or rather calm down that nervous system. So if you can, stand up. If you can't stand up, that's perfectly fine. You can also do this sitting down. We're just going to do a couple of easy stretches. So if you can, just go ahead and bring your arms all the way out and all the way up as far as you can without going into pain. Take a deep breath in. And now exhale. Let it all out. You can go slow if you want. And we'll do another one of those. If you want to bend your knees, you can do that. Arms slowly up. And inhale and hold for a second or two. And then exhale it all out. All right. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to take our hands like so, with the backs of our hands touching each other. And we're going to trace 3 hearts around our face like so. 1, 2, and 3. Breathing in and out while you're doing that. Now we're going to do 3 hearts even bigger. 1, 2, and 3. Getting a nice stretch there in the arms. Now we're going to do that again, but this time we're going to see if we can go a little bit farther. Maybe try to touch your toes, but don't go into pain. All right, 1, and then bend at the knees if you can. Stretch all the way down as far as you can go. And then come back up. We'll do the same thing. And bend down. Go as far as you can. And come back up. And one more time. Make it a big stretch. And then bend down. Go as far as you can. And then hold. And come back up. Okay, perfect. All right. Let's have a seat. That is a little energy medicine activity called 9 hearts. When you're basically just tracing hearts around what's called your aura, which is basically our energy's biofield. Everybody has a biofield, which is an invisible force of energy. And so what you're doing is you're just tracing hearts first around the face, then 3 hearts around the torso, and then 3 hearts the whole body all the way down. So you can do that anytime you feel stressed. All right, so hopefully that was nice and relaxing for you. And now we're going to dive into tonight's activity, which is talking about boundaries. So the first resource that I have for y'all is from a workbook that I really love, that if you want to check it out yourself, you can buy it on Amazon. It's pretty inexpensive. It's called Self-Love Workbook for Women. It's an amazing book. I love to use this with my clients. I love to use it for myself. In my women's coaching membership, I use this book quite often, and you can get it on Amazon for pretty cheap. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading some, actually it's 10 different 10 different signs that you would benefit from better boundaries. So I'm going to read 10 different things, and if you relate, in fact, if you would like to, maybe grab a scrap piece of paper if it's close by, or you can get out maybe your phone if you have a notepad, and just kind of notate which ones that I say that you relate to, and then we'll talk about it. Then you'll know which ones you can improve on. Okay. And I'm going to put them up on the screen so you can see them. All right. So 10 signs that you benefit from better boundaries. Do you relate to any of these? Number 1, I get angry when others don't listen or do what I want after I keep telling them. Do you relate to this one? Do you get frustrated when you feel like people aren't listening? If you do, maybe just jot that down. All right. And number 2, I feel responsible for making sure everyone is happy and okay. I feel responsible basically for other people's happiness. Do you relate to this? If so, put a little check mark by it or jot it down. And in a little bit, we're going to talk about some boundaries that will hopefully make these a little bit easier for you. Number 3, I often feel resentful and angry in my relationships. Specifically, when you do too much, when you overgive, when you overcommit, you overextend, when you're just trying to be helpful, but yet you feel resentful and angry. That is a sign that you need some better boundaries, and I have been there. So you're in good company for these. Okay, how about number 4? I shouldn't have to ask for what I need or want. Others should know. Well, let me tell you a little secret. People can't read minds. Not even me, having a degree in psychology and a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. I can't read people's minds. I'm not a fortune teller. I can maybe guess, but I don't know exactly what people are thinking unless they communicate it to me. Same thing. We need to be able to speak and communicate effectively what we need or want, and vice versa. We need to understand. Have you ever gotten frustrated with someone because they were really vague in what they needed from you and didn't set clear boundaries, and then got frustrated with you because you didn't get it right? Well, this relates to that, and hopefully we're going to have some solutions to that in a little bit. All right. Number 5, I don't want to bother or inconvenience others. Yes, I definitely relate to this one. I hear this one a lot in my practice with my clients. I don't want to bother people. I don't want to rock the boat. You want to keep the peace. You don't want to. Confrontation isn't for most people. Some people love it, but most empaths, most people who are empathic, which means that they're just very compassionate and caring and very concerned about other people's feelings, don't want to bother or inconvenience others, but oftentimes it's to their own detriment that they do this. That it's okay if we are bothered and inconvenienced, but not other people. That's not okay. All right, number 6. Giving and helping others is part of what makes me unique and worthy. And this is a tough one because it feels good to give. It feels good to help. But it should not be our sole source of self-esteem and sense of worthiness. And if it is, this is definitely a sign that we may need some better boundaries. Okay. And number 7, I often sacrifice my wants and needs for others. Like I said a moment ago, do you sacrifice yourself to the detriment of others? Do you burn yourself out? Do you run yourself down trying to please other people? Yes. Number 8, I do not let others in to know the real me. So this is definitely a sign that you need a little bit better boundaries to find the people that you do trust. It's not like you have to let everyone in on your private stuff. It's about, learning who those safe people are, learning to trust those that are trustworthy and to let them in. And that's hard when you've been hurt and you've been betrayed. It's definitely a challenge and it can be scary. All right, number 9. If others knew what I was thinking, they would not like me. Oh. Yeah, we may be concerned that not letting other people in because we may be afraid of what they may think of us if we share our true selves, our authentic selves with others. But again, that goes to finding those other safe, authentic people. Okay, and then number 10, I don't trust others and I close myself off quickly to relationships. So, do you relate to any of these? If so, which ones? And we're going to go over now. What we're going to do is we are going to go over some affirmations and some boundaries. And at the same time, we're going to do some easy nervous system regulation. And again, what that means, if you haven't seen any of my other videos or my previous live streams, and at any time you can go back into this channel at Holistic Healing Network and watch any of the replays of the live streams and any of my other videos on this channel. I like to provide education, holistic education based on the mind, body, spirit, and relationships. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice saying these boundaries, giving you some ideas of exactly what to say, giving you different scripts. And if you don't like the way these are worded, then you can definitely tweak them. Maybe they'll give you some ideas of what to say. Maybe you don't like a certain word and you want to replace it with a different word. That's absolutely fine. But these might just give you an idea. And at the same time, we're going to be doing some really easy tapping to calm down the nervous system. So for those of you who have not been to any of my tapping demonstrations, so we're going to briefly go over tapping. If you want some further explanation, check out some of my other videos. In fact, there is another video on the main page called setting boundaries using tapping. And that goes into a lot more detail about the science behind the tapping and just gives you a little bit better of an idea. I'm going to quickly go through tapping and then we're going to use it with the boundaries. Okay, so tapping basically is an easy, efficient, quick way to calm the nervous system by using gentle tapping on acupuncture points. And there's 9 different acupuncture points that we use in traditional tapping, or what's also called emotional freedom technique. And so we're going to basically do some rounds of those different tapping points. I'm going to go through real quick what those points are, and then we're going to do them together. Okay. So first point is called the karate chop point. It's on the side of the hand, this fleshy part of the hand, either one, between the pinky and the wrist. So it's called the karate chop. See? So, and you can be flexible with the pressure. You can go very gently. You can go a little bit harder if that feels better to you. Or if you don't like the tapping at all, you can rub. You can just gently rub this area. Or you can just press and hold. Any of that works. Okay. So that's the first point, is the karate chop point. Remember, either hand, doesn't matter. The second point is the eyebrow point, which is that crease where the eyebrow meets the bridge of the nose, kind of right here. And again, it doesn't matter which side. You can do the right side, you can do the left side, or you can do both just to kind of feel even. It all works. And again, if you don't like that tapping, you can, either be really gentle with it, or you can just gently rub that area, or you can touch and hold and breathe. You're touching these different acupuncture points in Chinese medicine. Acupuncture points, acupressure points correspond. There's a point on the outside of the body, but when you follow what's called the meridian line through the inside of the body, then it ends into one of the organs. Like, for example, this point here is bladder. So if you tap, tap, tap on this point here, you're stimulating your bladder a little bit. So you You may have the urge at some point. I don't think it's going to be too bad. You'd have to do quite a bit of tapping on that B point to really get it stimulate your bladder. So yes, that's the second point. Third point is the side of the eye, kind of that temple area right here. This point is called the triple warmer point. This is actually our fight or flight. So you can easily calm the fight or flight response actually by just tapping this point right here on the side of the temple here. Okay. Next point is underneath the eye, top of the cheekbone. This is the stomach. Tap, 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 or you can massage, or you can touch and hold. This is a really good one too that I like to tap when I'm having a stomach ache or after I eat to help me digest, or if I'm nauseous or just having anxiety that affects the stomach. Okay, next point is underneath the nose, kind of right there where the mustache area is. Okay, and then the next point is the chin, the crease, not the bottom, but the middle, the crease right there. Yeah. Okay, and then the collarbone. And you don't have to be exact with these points for you perfectionists out there. If you just get the collarbone where it meets in the middle, and then maybe go down about an inch and then out about an inch, right in that area. It doesn't have to be exact. We're not doing acupuncture. Acupuncture is exact with these little needles. Acupressure doesn't have to be exact. As long as you're in the general vicinity, you're getting it. In this way, the collarbone I like because you can do different things. You can maybe like run your fingers along the area. You can use one hand, tap like this. You can rub that area. Whatever feels good to you. Make it work for you. Okay. Next point is the spleen, or underneath the armpit. Ladies, where we have our bra strap. For men, maybe a couple inches down from the armpit. So side of the arm. And you can, or kind of where the ribs are too. Ribs are right here. So you could do this a couple ways. You could do it this way, or you could reach around with on the same side and the same hand. You could do both sides if you want. Or you can wrap around and get like a little self-hug. As long as you're getting that area, which this is the spleen. Spleen actually really gets depleted when we go into fight or flight, when we have that nervous energy. Spleen really gets exhausted. And that is because Chinese medicine, triple warmer, which is our fight or flight response, and spleen are yin and yang. So triple warmer robs energy from spleen. Just a little bit of Chinese medicine for you. Okay, and then the last point is the top of the head. Pretty easy there. You can just use fingers here. You can use the whole hand. You can rub. You can just touch and hold, as long as you're giving some kind of stimulation. And what that is doing is it's getting the moving energy. It's moving blood flow, lymphatic flow, oxygen, sending it to the brain, sending it to the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that's controls our fight or flight response. So it's sending a rush of blood and oxygen to that part of the brain, just calming it down. It's calming it down. So what we're going to do is, while I read out loud, and I'm going to put these boundary scripts on the screen, we're just going to tap. We're just going to tap because we're simultaneously calming down that nervous system response that we get when, like, oh gosh, I don't want to tell somebody no. I don't want them to think I'm selfish, or I don't want to feel guilty, or I don't want to be left out, or the number of reasons. I don't want to rock the boat. I want to keep the peace. I don't like confrontation. All of those reasons. We're going to simultaneously handle the nervous system response while we're practicing the boundaries. And at any point, if any of those tapping points don't feel good to you, then you don't have to do them. You can skip over them and do either a different point. Like, for example, if you don't like touching your face, then don't do anything with the face. Just do maybe the collarbone. Or if you don't like the tapping, you just prefer to rub, or honestly, if you don't like any of that, pick something else. Do something else somatic. Somatic means body. Do something else body related. It could be rubbing your hands together and getting some warmth. It could be inhaling. If any of you have seen my previous live streams, it could be inhaling some essential oils. By the way, tonight I'm using one of my favorite oils, geranium from doTERRA. This is absolutely one of my favorite oils. I love the smell of this. That's what I am diffusing right now. So you could inhale that while tapping up and down your nose. You could, you could do those, the 9 hearts. You could stretch. You could do a yoga pose. Whatever works for you. That's calming. That's the rule. It has to be calming. It has to be something that incorporates the body. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So here is the first boundary. So we're going to start tapping on, let's start with the karate chop point. And remember what I said, if you don't like a certain point, change it up and do something else. Okay, so the first boundary is, if you're in a place where you can say it out loud with me. If you're not in a place you can say it out loud, just think it to yourself. A deep breath in and repeat after me if you can. Thanks, but I won't be able to make it. How does that feel? Is that a little scary? If so, that's okay. Let's just keep pushing through it. All right, next one is the eyebrow point. Deep breath in and out. I appreciate the invitation. However, I have other plans. Now, remember, you're not going to be tapping when you say this boundary to someone. You actually can tap secretively under the table with just using your fingers. That's something that you could do to regulate your nervous system while you're speaking to someone where they won't see you. Just have your hands down and do your fingers like this. This is calming for the nervous system. You could do that while you're delivering the boundary. You probably wouldn't want to do, this kind of tapping, but you get the idea. Okay, so I appreciate the invitation. However, I have other plans. Next, side of the eye. Repeat after me. Unfortunately, I can't commit to that right now. Keep breathing in and out. Okay, next one is underneath the eye. Let me think about it and get back to you. Keep breathing, keep tapping. I love this one. Let me think about it and get back to you, because then it gives me time to check my schedule, to think about it, to pray about it, to talk to people, whatever I do, whatever you do, you need to do to think about things. Talk about it with your therapist, talk about it with your support group. Decide if it is really what you want to do. Decide if the motivation is right and if it's in your best interest. Okay, next one, underneath the nose. No, I won't be able to do that. That's a hard one, isn't it? Keep tapping. No, I won't be able to do that. Or you could switch it up and say, I'm sorry, unfortunately, I won't be able to do that. Something like that. Whatever you feel comfortable with. All right. Chin. Let's do the chin point now. I am not able to do that at this time, but I will reconsider that in the future. This is a good one for basically telling the person, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work for me now, but maybe it will in the future. You're leaving an open door, but sometimes you may not want to leave an open door. Sometimes you may want to close it. And so you can just say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that. Bam, period. You're not leaving any open door. You're not saying at this time. You're not saying maybe I'll do that in the future. You're shutting it down. And sometimes you need to do that. Depends on the person. It depends on the situation. And let me just say something else. I'm not saying that you should expect that people will always respect your boundary. It depends on who you're dealing with. And some of you know already a person in mind that you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, right, this person would never accept this boundary. If we're dealing with toxic people, with unhealthy people, with narcissistic people, people who are just not good at accepting boundaries and are not respectful of boundaries, doesn't mean you need to stop setting boundaries. You may have to continue sounding like a broken record. You probably can't expect that type of person to respect your boundaries, but it doesn't mean that you stop them. You continue. And if they cannot respect boundaries, then you might have to, weigh how much this relationship, how much you want to continue investing in that relationship. If they're going to continue to run over your boundaries and not respect you and not hear you, then you might need to say something like, okay, well, I need to end this conversation and leave, or hang up the phone. Or you might need to say something like, well, perhaps this relationship isn't in my best interest at this time, or at all. It really just depends on the situation. And this is where getting help from a qualified professional can come in handy. And stay tuned to the end of the video. I will give some resources in regards to that. Okay, next one is the collarbone point. Repeat after me if you can. I appreciate the confidence or compliment, but I won't be able to participate. This is an example for this one. For my personal life, I recently joined a dance studio, a ballroom dance studio, and they wanted me to participate in the winter concert, which was quite expensive, and it wasn't something I was able to do. It wasn't something I was ready to do emotionally, physically, financially. And but several of them there were trying to encourage me, saying, you're really talented and we know you would love it, and we, want you to participate. And I appreciated that, but it just wasn't the right time. And I had to, as hard as it was, I had to continue saying my boundary multiple times, because there were many people who didn't talk to each other. They didn't get the memo, so to speak, or pass my no around. So they would say, hey, aren't you going to be in the concert with us? And I had to keep repeating my boundary. No, unfortunately, I can't participate. And then I had to get, the why not, and that was hard. I kept having to repeat myself, and I felt a little like a broken record, but it also was an opportunity for me to practice. And I had to stick to my ground as much as I wanted to. It wasn't right for me. And I had to basically say, not this time, perhaps in the future. All right. Next one is side of the ribs. Unfortunately, that won't work for me. Repeat after me. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for me, or that won't work for me. That's a hard one, isn't it? Because you want it to work. You want to please everyone. You want everything to work out. But unfortunately, we can't. We're not superhumans. Okay. Next one. Top of the head. Oh, actually, by the way, we're switching over now to some affirmations. So these aren't actually boundaries like the ones I just read, but these are positive affirmations that I want you to either, repeat out loud or say to yourself, or go back and rewatch this video anytime you need some motivation, you need some strength, you need some encouragement. So, but let's keep tapping so we can do the nervous system regulation at the same time. Okay, so repeat after me. My feelings are important and relevant. Good. A lot of times affirmations by themselves aren't effective without the body work, the body piece, the mind-body connection. We need the body piece. We need the somatic work, like the tapping or whatever it is that you choose to do. when we just try to tell ourselves something till we're blue in the face, sometimes it's not enough. We really need to incorporate some kind of nervous system technique at the same time. Okay. Let's go back to the karate chop point. I have a right to be heard and take up space. And I'm sorry, my bracelets are being loud. I have a right to be heard and take up space. Okay. Go back to the eyebrow point. Others' reactions and behaviors are often a reflection of themselves and not of me. A deep breath in. Let that one out. Just kind of also think of it in this way. We're tapping this into our nervous system. Tapping it in. Okay, side of the eye now. It is okay to say no without explanation. No is a complete sentence. We don't have to explain. Sometimes we want to. And that's okay. But it's also okay not to. Now, if you feel like you have to get into this long, convoluted explanation that's nobody's business, that's not necessary. It's okay to just say, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me, but thank you. Done. It's okay. And then go and do some nervous system regulation. Okay. Eventually, these will get easier if you continue to practice this nervous system regulation at the same time as the boundaries. Okay. Where were we? Underneath the eye. So the top of the cheekbone. I can set boundaries when I am overwhelmed. In fact, we should set boundaries when we're overwhelmed. Okay. Let's do underneath the nose now. I can always change my mind. I can't tell you how many times I've had sessions with clients where they have said something like, and I've said it, I've done it too, where they've said, but I have a commitment. I made a commitment. And I tell them, okay, just because you made a commitment doesn't mean like it's a legally binding contract, unless it's something like a legally binding contract. As I told someone I would be there and I would do this, they're counting on me. Okay, understand that. But sometimes things come up, sometimes things happen, and sometimes we have to get out of that commitment. We have to change course because we have to take care of ourselves. And that's okay. That's self-care. That's not being selfish. All right. Next, collarbone. No, I missed the chin, didn't I? Okay. I do not have to stay in an unhealthy situation. Yes. Let's say that one again. I do not have to stay in an unhealthy situation. Many, many, many times I have stayed in unhealthy romantic relationships, unhealthy friendships, unhealthy workplace relationships. No, I do not have to stay in an unhealthy situation, and I choose not to. In fact, you can even say that. I choose not to stay in an unhealthy relationship. And this takes a lot of work. So, again, stay tuned and I'll talk about some resources on how you can get some help with these types of things like boundaries and unhealthy relationships. All right, next one is the collarbone. I deserve to be treated with respect. I deserve to be treated with respect. I had right there, see how I kind of took that breath? That was a spontaneous breath. That wasn't really forced. What that means is it's called a recognition response or a response recognition. You can say it either way. That's when your nervous system kicks in and you go from fight or flight down to rest and digest. It's from sympathetic to parasympathetic. You're starting to calm down. So when you feel those shifts in your nervous system, like that spontaneous breath or that sigh, or even a yawn, if you're yawning, that's actually also a sign that your parasympathetic nervous system is kicking in, doing its job to calm you down. Swallowing too. I just swallowed there. When your muscles are starting to relax, you may even notice that you have a little bit more range of motion. In fact, we didn't do a range of motion assessment beforehand, but that's okay. You can do that in the future. You can do a quick range of motion, a cervical range of motion to the right and the left, and just kind of see how far you can turn your neck, and then reassess. You can do it at the end, reassess your range of motion to see if it's improved. If it's improved, that means your muscles are calming down and your nervous system is relaxing. Okay, next one, ribs. I have the right to ask for what I want and need. I have the right to ask for what I want and need. A lot of times we struggle with that, don't we? We don't want to bother anyone. We don't want to inconvenience anyone. But we have that right. Okay. Top of the head. Someone else's response does not indicate whether it was okay for me to ask for what I need and want. Say that one again. Someone else's response does not indicate whether it was okay for me to ask what I need and want. So, in other words, regardless of how someone responds to your request for a need or want, you still have that right. Even if they get mad at you for asking for what you want and need, you still have that right to make those requests. All right, let's go back to Karate Chop. I can get my needs met and still be kind. Or I can ask for what I need and still be kind. I love this saying, say what you mean and mean what you say, but don't say it mean. There's a way to be assertive without being aggressive, without being passive aggressive, which is basically like a very sarcastic, indirect way of communicating. There is a way to get our needs met using I statements. I feel blank when you did or said blank. That's a really good cookie cutter statement using I statements. All right. Go back to the eyebrow point. I have the right to say no without feeling guilty. Yes. A lot of us, and I hear this a lot in my practice, is I set the boundary, but I felt really guilty. And I can't shake it. And I want to go back to them and fawn, which is people pleasing. This will get better over time with practice and with more nervous system regulation. What we're doing now is we're training the nervous system that it's okay, that it's safe in being coupled with setting boundaries, teaching the nervous system that it's safe to do these things. Okay, side of the eye. I have the right to negotiate for my preferences, desires, and needs. You can negotiate for all of those things. Well, that really doesn't work for me. Would you be up for this instead? And then you decide if you want to meet that person in the middle, or if you're not comfortable with what they're asking. All right, a couple more, and then we'll wrap up. Let's see, where we go. Underneath the eye. I have the right to determine who has the privilege of being in my life. Yes. Who has the privilege of being in my life? Yes, they have that privilege of getting to know you. And you have the right to choose who you allow into your inner circle. Okay. Two more. Underneath the nose. I have the right, no, excuse me. Yes, I have the right to communicate my boundaries clearly. Communicate my boundaries clearly. You want to be clear with your boundaries. You don't want to leave anything open for interpretation. And you can even say things like, I'd like to be clear, or let me repeat myself just for clarity. You don't need to say it nasty, like, so let me say it again. That's passive aggressive. You want to be assertive, very direct. Allow me to be clear. And then state your boundary. I would like ... I would appreciate it if ... All right. And the last one is we'll do the collarbone. I have the right to practice self-care without feeling selfish. Self-care is not selfishness. It is essential. It is essential for us to take care of ourselves, to set those boundaries, or people will walk all over us. We will get burned out and we'll get sick, frankly. We'll get physically sick. We'll get psychologically sick. We'll have anxiety. We'll have post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, all of those things can be made worse by not setting clear boundaries. Okay. All right. So let's take a deep breath in. Actually, let's rub our hands together. And I always like to end this way. Rub our hands together, get a little bit of warmth. Take a deep breath in and let it out. And then just kind of, if you'd like to, just put your hands over your heart, maybe rock back and forth a little bit. Maybe rub your hands on the outside of your legs, whatever feels good to you. And just kind of notate, how do you feel? How is your nervous system? Maybe do a cervical assessment. Is your range of motion any better than when we did it earlier? So, and by the way, some of those, there's two books that I got these from. I told you the first one was the Self-Love Workbook for Women. You can get it on Amazon. And then there's a couple of them that I read from this book. It's brand new. It's called The Boundary Boss Workbook by Terry Cole, one of my favorite psychologists on YouTube. She also has an awesome YouTube channel. She talks a lot about boundaries. She has a book and then the workbook. Highly recommend both of them. In fact, I do a lot of work out from her stuff with my clients in my one-on-one sessions. So speaking of, since it's time to wrap up, I'm going to give you a little bit of resources to get some further help. If you liked these activities from tonight and you'd like to tune in, I do this live stream and I host it on my YouTube channel every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is called the Online Gathering Place. And there are other people that also do their other evenings on their channels. We have a Facebook page if you'd like to know when those other live streams are. You can actually look up Online Gathering Place on Facebook and join, and it'll tell you all about the different nights and days and times of these different live streams. There are a few of us that are volunteering to present different activities for y'all through this Online Gathering Place. However, we are always looking for volunteers. If you like teaching activities or you like doing fun things, you don't have to be a professional. You don't have to do what I do. You could do all kinds of different things. You could do trivia. You could lead a game. You could lead an arts and crafts activity. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the desire to help people and lead an activity and you have some free time, send an email to the onlinegatheringplace@gmail.com. A couple of other resources. If you are in need of a therapist or a coach and you would like to work with me and you liked some of the work that I did tonight, you can go to my website, which is leahpetrucci.com. There's lots of information on there. There is an opportunity on my website to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me if you have any questions about the services that I provide. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida, and I'm also a holistic health and lifestyle coach for anyone, anywhere, regardless of where you live. There's another way you can get my information. Of course, you can watch any of the videos on this YouTube channel, which is called the Holistic Healing Network. That'll give you an idea of some of the work that I do. And you can go back and watch some of the old live streams on the online gathering place. You can also, if you'd like, get on my email list, which I send a free newsletter every month, which gives you updates about all of the projects that I'm working on and all the videos that come out, working on podcasts and all the different things that I'm doing. So you can get on that email list by going to leahpetrucci.com/redflags-checklist. And all of these links that I'm sharing will also be in the notes underneath the video. So it'll be a clickable link. You can, if you also want to get on my email list, you'll get a free copy of my relationship red flags checklist. And as I mentioned earlier, we were talking about boundaries and unhealthy relationships. That is one of my areas of specialization, is helping mainly women. I do work with some men, but mainly women who are divorced or single currently. They are no longer in the toxic relationship, but they really want to heal. They really want to break the cycle. They want to break the pattern. They want to learn how to have healthy relationships. That is one of my areas of specialization, along with chronic pain and health issues, as I'm also a health and lifestyle coach. So, but if you want to grab a copy of the Relationship Red Flags Checklist, it's free PDF, and it gives you some more information on how to get in touch with me. All right, let's see. All right, one more resource for you. The tapping that we did can be accessed. You can, of course, work with a practitioner. You can work with me if you'd like to do some tapping, which I think is very useful to have a practitioner that is trained in emotional freedom technique, tapping. So you can talk about what comes up for you during the sessions. But if you'd like to do tapping on your own, here is a great resource that you can access. It's an app you can download on your phone called the Tapping Solution. There is a free version, but there is also a premium version that gives you access to hundreds of different tapping exercises. Literally, you can find a tap for just about every situation that you can think of. And I was able to partner with the company and get 50% off for my viewers. So if you are interested in that, there is a link in the notes. And you can just click on that and get that 50% off of the premium. But there's also a free version if you want to just try it out first and see if you like it. All right. I think that covers everything. So I hope you were able to get some good information about setting boundaries, and I wish you a good evening or good day whenever you are watching this, and I hope you are able to join again next Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Thanks so much. Have a great night.